The drought begins. It started on a Monday morning, the kind that smelled of freshly cut grass, except mine wasn't cut nor watered. When I stepped outside, my once green lawn looked like a battlefield of yellow and brown patches. Confused, I checked the sprinkler timer. Everything was set perfectly, but when I turned the valve, not a drop came out. That's when I saw her, Karen, standing across the street in her floral blouse and khaki shorts, clutching her clipboard like it was the law itself. She smirked, one hand on her hip. HOA regulations, she said loudly enough for the entire cul-de-sac to hear. Water restrictions are in effect. You've been overusing your sprinklers again. I blinked. Karen, my water usage is well within limits. I pay my bills and my yard is my business. Not when you live under our HOA, she shot back. Your lush lawn makes everyone else's yards look bad. We're maintaining uniformity. I bit my tongue and walked back inside, but fury boiled under my skin. She'd been looking for a reason, any reason, to find me. Last month, it was my mailbox color. Before that, my trash bins being visible for 10 minutes too long. This time, she went further. Later that day, I confirmed my suspicion. Karen had convinced the HOA to shut off my irrigation, connection from the community system. I called the city water department, but they said it was an internal HOA issue. Translation, Karen had the power. By the next week, my yard looked like a desert. My neighbors started whispering. Some pitied me. Others were too scared to cross. Karen. She had a reputation. She'd find people for kids, bikes on driveways for holiday lights, even for too festive mailboxes. But as I stood in the middle of my dying lawn that Friday afternoon, an idea hit me, wild, bold, and just the kind of revenge Karen would hate. If she didn't want me watering my lawn, fine. I wouldn't. I'd replace it entirely with something she couldn't control. That night, I stayed up sketching plans, scrolling through pool installation sites, and watching YouTube tutorials on backyard transformations. The sound of running water on those videos made me grin. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to fight the HOA over sprinklers. I was going to build a pool, a beautiful, shimmering symbol of freedom right in my front yard if I had to. When Karen saw me measuring the yard the next day with blueprints in hand, her expression froze. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded. I smiled, pulling down my sunglasses. "Following the rules, Karen. You said I can't water my grass, so I'm getting rid of it." Her face turned redder than my mailbox used to be. This was just the beginning. Karen declares war on my pool project. By Monday morning, the sound of jackhammers filled the neighborhood. Dust rose from my front yard as contractors began digging. The old sprinkler heads were ripped out and tossed aside like trophies of freedom. I stood there with a cup of coffee, watching years of HOA control crumble, one shovel at a time. Karen appeared exactly as I expected, storming across the street like a general ready for battle, clipboard in hand, sunglasses glinting with judgment. "Excuse me," she barked. "You can't just dig up your lawn like that. You need HOA approval for any major landscaping change." I turned to her calmly. I read the bylaws. "Karen, it says front yard modifications require HOA approval. This is my backyard." Her jaw tightened. I can still see the equipment from the road. "That's a violation of Section 4C, Community Aesthetic Preservation." "Then don't look," I said, sipping my coffee. Her face turned crimson. She stomped away, typing furiously on her phone. Within an hour, I got an email. "HOA notice of violation, unauthorized construction." I laughed out loud. The ink on my contractor's permit from the city hadn't even dried yet. By the next day, Karen had rallied the HOA board. 3 of them showed up, clipboard clones in pastel shirts, trying to look official. One of them cleared his throat. "Mr. Walker, the HOA is concerned about the disruption your project is causing." "Concerned?" I said. Karen shut off my sprinklers. "You let my lawn die. I'm fixing the problem in a way that doesn't break any city laws." Karen pointed toward the hole in my yard. "You're ruining the neighborhood's curb appeal." "That's funny," I said, "because when you cut my water off, you ruined it first." They couldn't argue with that. The contractors kept working. By sunset, the hole was wide and deep, the frame for the pool starting to take shape. I saw Karen peering through her blinds every 10 minutes, snapping photos, probably building her case. The next morning, I woke up to a bright orange sign on my fence. "Stop work order, HOA dispute." I rolled my eyes. The city inspector confirmed it wasn't from them, it was just Karen's homemade sign, laminated and taped up like a kindergartner's project. That was the final straw. I posted the story online, photos, emails, and all. The internet loved it. Comments flooded in. HOA Karen strikes again. And build that pool, brother. Within hours, it went viral. News outlets picked it up. Neighbors started honking and cheering when they passed by. Even the contractor offered me a discount just for the publicity. Karen watched from her porch, seething, powerless. And as the concrete trucks arrived the next day, I waved to her cheerfully. "Don't worry, Karen. Once it's done, you're welcome to come for a swim." She glared, clutching her clipboard tighter. I knew she wouldn't give up that easily. Karen never did. But neither would I. The HOA's revenge backfires. By the time the pool's foundation was finished, the neighborhood had practically turned into a spectator sport. Cars slowed down to watch, kids cheered, and even a few of my quieter neighbors gave me a thumbs up when Karen wasn't looking. But Karen, she wasn't cheering. She was plotting. I knew it the moment she stopped yelling. That eerie calm meant only one thing. She was up to something worse. And sure enough, 3 days later, I got a certified letter in the mail. HOA fine notice. Unauthorized construction. $500 per day until compliance. $500 per day. Karen had clearly convinced the HOA board to vote it in. They must have been terrified of her, or bored enough to play along. Either way, it didn't scare me. I walked straight into City Hall with my contractor's documents and showed them everything. The clerk smiled. "You're all good here. HOA can't override city permits." That was the crack in Karen's armor I'd been waiting for. When I got home, Karen was standing by the curb pretending to water her already perfect flowers. "Karen," I called, waving the signed documents. "The city says I'm cleared. Your fines mean nothing." Her eyes widened. "That's impossible. The HOA has authority not over public utilities or city construction permits," I interrupted. "You should probably read your own bylaws more carefully." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. The next day, construction resumed, louder and faster. The cement trucks came early, workers laughing, radios blaring classic rock. Karen tried to call the police, but when the officer arrived and checked my permits, he simply shrugged. "He's good to go, ma'am. Maybe try enjoying the pool once it's done." You could practically see the steam coming out of her ears. But Karen wasn't finished. Oh no. She took it to the next level, sending letters to every neighbor, warning them that the pool would devalue their homes, that it would attract mosquitoes, noise, and reckless parties. The problem? My neighbors were tired of her too. Instead of siding with her, they rallied behind me. 2 of them even brought lemonade to the workers and offered to help with landscaping when the pool was done. Then came the moment that turned everything upside down. During one of her secret inspection walks, Karen marched into my yard to take pictures for evidence. Unfortunately for her, she didn't notice the fresh concrete footing near the pool's edge. Her high-heeled sandal sank straight in, ankle deep. The crew froze. I bit my lip to keep from laughing as she struggled to pull her foot out, leaving a perfect Karen-shaped imprint in the cement. "Ma'am," one of the workers said, barely containing his grin, "we'll have to charge for that repair." She fled home without another word. That footprint stayed there for 2 days before it was fixed. But not before. I took a picture and framed it in my garage. A little reminder that karma always finds its way home. The grand opening and Karen's meltdown. 2 weeks later, the transformation was complete. My front yard, once a dry, brown wasteland, now shimmered with a crystal blue pool surrounded by stone tiles, string lights, and a sleek wooden deck. The sound of water flowing from the little fountain feature was pure peace. Even the contractors stood back to admire their work. "Man," one of them said, "this is the best job we've done all summer." And then he added with a grin, "Bet the HOA loves it." I laughed. "Oh, they'll love it all right." That evening, I sent out invitations to the entire neighborhood. I called it the grand opening. Freedom Splash. I even included a note at the bottom. HOA members welcome too. By Saturday, my backyard buzzed with life. Kids splashed, adults lounged with lemonade, and music drifted through the air. Everyone came, except, of course, Karen. But that didn't stop her from watching from her porch, arms crossed like a statue of disapproval. Halfway through the party, I saw her storming over in that same floral blouse she wore the day. She shut off my sprinklers, clipboard in hand, fury in her eyes. "Turn off that music immediately," she shouted over the laughter. "You're in violation of HOA noise regulations." I smiled and turned the volume down just enough to talk. "Actually, Karen, it's before 9 p.m. and under 70 decibels. I checked." "You think this is funny? You've made a mockery of the HOA." "Karen," I said calmly, "you shut off my sprinklers. You killed my grass, so I built something better. Everyone's enjoying it, and guess what? The property values went up." As if on cue, one of my neighbors waved a flyer. The realtor said homes near pools sell faster. "Thanks, man." The look on Karen's face could have boiled the pool water. She sputtered, "You'll regret this." "The board will—" "Actually," interrupted Mr. Jensen, one of the HOA board members who had finally grown a spine. "We had a meeting. The board voted to allow pools, considering community demand." Karen froze. "You did what?" "Majority vote," he said. "It's official." The crowd erupted into cheers. Someone handed Karen a beach ball and said, "Welcome to the pool era." She turned red, spun on her heel, and stormed back home. The whole neighborhood burst out laughing. Later that night, as the stars reflected off the water, I floated quietly, thinking about how one stubborn HOA enforcer had accidentally inspired the best upgrade of my life. Karen never spoke to me again, but every morning, she still had to drive past my sparkling pool on her way to her meetings. I'd wave. Sometimes she even waved back, tight-lipped, clipboard-free. Because deep down, even Karen knew she'd lost the battle of the sprinklers. And I'd won the war with a cannonball.